Welcome back to Michael Koren. Gun control being the issue, and of course Virginia Tech is the catalyst. We discuss gun control again. Frankly, every year or two, another disaster. There'll be another one, quite guaranteed. And then we'll discuss gun control. These are compelling arguments, surely.
Listen, you know what? I think you've set it up. You've done a good job of setting up. The reality is that in this country, Canada, our regulatory regimen is different than the one in the United States. Mm-hmm. And I don't for a second think that, with, really strict gun control, we're going to get rid of the crime and in and of itself enhance public safety, but it's definitely part of the solution. I mean, I think the bigger answers are in crime control. But having said that, if we as a society take a tougher stand on gun control, which we do in Canada, I think the end result is that you have less gun crime. And if we look at the actual numbers in the United States of America and compare them to Canada, there's no doubt that our stricter access to handguns, to automatic weapons, which are illegal, how quickly we get firearms in this country in comparison to south of the border, just how easily accessible those handguns are. At the end of the day, the numbers reflect the fact that it's easier to get a gun in the United States. And the end result is there is more gun crime in the United States. So having said all of that, gun control is part of this. The question then is, how do you do it to best enhance public safety without costing $2 billion? Well,
forget the gun registry for a moment, because I think there's pretty much universal agreement this was hysteria and a huge waste of money. But there's a much bigger population in the US. They have social disorder that we don't have. We have actually a very stable and safe society in many ways. They have all sorts of inner city decay and problems with which to deal. What about the number of people who are saved by gun access? I've heard this argument. Now, let me put this in context. I don't own a gun. They terrify me. But I've heard many people in the US say, give stories. We were safe. We own a gun. These guys came to our door. They would have blown us away. We had a gun. We were safe. Well, what about those stories?
You know what? Sure, because there's so many guns out there that people feel the need, that are accessible and available and being carried in public, that people feel the need to actually arm themselves against those people. I've got to, I was a cop for 30 years. I just recently retired. They gave me a .38 Smith & Wesson, and then they gave me a Glock, and I left it at the police station every single day of my career. And then when I finished my career, I took it from the police station up to the armament office and turned it in. I don't possess a gun. I live, downtown in Toronto. I don't buy it. I'm not saying that from time to time having a gun does protect you, but I got to say, like, as a trained person with a gun, the thought of people out there, even if they did take a little, two-day course on how to handle a handgun, the thought of people roving around in Canadian society carrying, legally carrying handguns because they might have to use it if something bad happens, that frightens me, because I know what happens when you pull that gun out and start shooting. The bullets fly everywhere, and the other kind of damage could be worse out of it. So I don't buy that particular argument.
Good argument. It's a very good argument, actually. Go ahead.
How many people like myself would like to own a gun? I'd like to have one. And given to me, it would be in the wrong hands. So gun control, to me, you see, I personally think that police officers should carry a gun for their protection. I'd like to have one for my protection. I'm not allowed to have one. However, when my house was invaded, I didn't have anything to protect me. My daughter didn't have anything to protect her. She was murdered by the hands of a teenager that bought a gun off the street.
So you're arguing that you should have the right to own a gun?
I'd like to have the right to own a gun, but I can't have it. And actually would be a dangerous thing to me for me to have a gun, because I'm so angry inside.
So what are you arguing here? I just want to make this clear. If you had a gun, or your daughter had a gun...
I'm not allowed to have a gun.
Yeah, but if you had one, you could have, you'd feel safer, your daughter would be alive. Is that what you're saying?
Now? Today?
Yeah.
I can't change what happened.
Yeah. No, but I'm trying to clarify your argument. Are you saying that people should have the right to have guns to defend themselves?
I'm saying if they did, it would be even worse.
It would be even worse. Okay. But we should just briefly tell you a story. Your daughter was murdered by a punk with a gun. He didn't obtain the gun legally, I'm sure.
No, he didn't.
Would he have got hold of a gun even if there was stricter gun control? Would he care?
It would have been harder for him to get one if he applied for a firearms license and wanted to do it the legal way, which he didn't do.
No, I mean, even if we had stricter gun control, surely the bad guys will always find a way to get a gun.
Of course.
So is it a gun control issue or is it something else?
Well, if we had tougher sentences, I think that would help a lot on gun control.
Yeah.
I think that the police do their jobs. They get these people that have the illegal weapons. Once they go to court and they're sentenced, their sentences don't last. It's just telling everybody else out there that you can carry an illegal weapon and get away with crime.
But on the show's about gun control, really, and I don't want to digress into these other areas. And I'm going to be completely cold about it. If there had been a gun in the house, your daughter may have survived.
Right.
Isn't that an argument for more freedom of gun access?
But, see, would she have?
I don't know, but it's a reasonable argument.
It's
she
a
didn't.
possibility.
I think that if the person that had the gun in his hands wanted to murder anybody, he would have.
And would get a gun, whatever.
And would have got one anywhere.
Yeah. Okay.
Michael, we are safer because we license people. We take longer to confirm them. Handguns are restricted weapons, so they're illegal to possess by most people. You have to go through a very significant process to get them. Automatic weapons are prohibited. They're flat out illegal. I think our regimen makes a difference, and at the end of the day, we're safer because of it.
John, I can't let that go unchallenged.
Automatic weapons. Why do we need automatic weapons?
I didn't say we needed automatic weapons, but in Switzerland, there's one in every single home and 800 rounds of ammunition to go with it.
Are you sure, before you go on,
problems.
because I don't want to give you too much rope, are you sure you want to use a Swiss example? You know the latest survey from Switzerland?
I have not seen the latest survey.
75% of all Swiss people want to get rid of that.
Well,
that's a tradition of the Swiss militia, and the vast majority of Swiss people say, get rid of it. We don't want guns in the house anymore.
That may be, but their crime statistics don't reflect an increase in crime due to the presence of firearms.
This is Switzerland, and nothing happens.
Oh, well, lots happens. But Norway has a much higher rate of gun ownership than Canada does, and they have a lower crime rate. When it comes to school shootings, we've had a third of the number of school shootings that the U.S. has had. However, we have a tenth the population and a 20th of the firearms. So does the presence of firearms create crime? There has never been one single survey or statistic that has any scientific credibility to lead to that conclusion.
But Tony,
that is an assumption.
But Tony, that's not what I said. I didn't say the presence of firearms
leads... Yes, you did.
Well, let me finish. I didn't say the presence of firearm leads to more gun crime. What I said was, if you have a proper regimen in place to ensure that the particular firearms in the hands of particular people, you're going to reduce it. And our regimen is different than the United States. And we have millions. We have actually, Michael, millions of firearms in this country. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but we very strictly control who gets what kind of firearm. We have very strict laws in terms of how we keep them on our premises. All of those things, and I support sport shooters. I support collectors. I support hunters and farmers and anybody else that wants a gun for lawful purpose. I support all of that. So I'm with, I think, Tony and Andrea with regard to that. But we are safer not because we have those guns. We're safer because of how we control them and how we store them.
Got to break here, but back in a few moments, a lot more to discuss on The Michael Curran Show. Watch the commercials. You've got to do it, and don't go away.